Constitution does say we should have to go from college, and we are supposed to follow the Constitution. But the Constitution also says we shouldn't follow it. We shouldn't have the electoral college because we should have one man, one vote. So which part of the Constitution do we listen to? That's the question. Our argument here is we should listen to the parts that disagree with the electoral college rather than the parts that agree with it. Because other things about it disagree with the Constitution as well. Like, for example, well, you could say that it violates equal protection of the law because if one individual, one elector, chooses to vote for somebody other than who he's sworn to vote for, then that invalidates completely all the votes of the other people who are involved. And that means they're treated differently under the law. It invalidates equal protection of the law. It invalidates contract law because there's no way to hold them accountable for breaking a contract. And it violates states' rights because it violates the 10th Amendment, which says all the rights will be afforded to the states or to the people. You can say it violates the rights of the people to no. I don't know, to whatever. To vote, to cast, to deal with the selection of the president directly or something. I don't know. Hi, Abraham. You should say that it is well, that it only makes sense. Put it this way. Here's the actual reason why we should get rid of the electoral college. The electoral college only makes sense if this were actually a confederation of states, of independent states. But it's not. It's one country, and it's got 50 provinces, basically. And in the original idea of the federal government was it was a federation of independent nation states. Okay, the reason they're called states is because they are supposed to be independent states. They are not provinces. A province is part of a country. A state is an independent state. It's like there's a state of Mexico, there's a state of Canada, the state of California. We're supposed to be like a country, but we're not. We're part of America. Because at some point in the past, the country switched over from referring to itself as these United States to calling itself the United States. Goodbye, Evelyn. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. She's going to forget. Okay, did you hear what I said about all that stuff there, Chris? Okay, fine. Let's talk about. Okay. Let's talk about LD. What I'm going to cut right here. Listen to this. This is the answer to. This is how people are going to get out of actually defining a right. This says. The article contributes to two central and interrelated discourses in welfare state theory and housing policy. One concerns the meaning of a right to housing. The other concerns the dichotomy, universal, selective in housing policy. The right to housing is best seen as a political marker of concern, pointing out housing as an area for welfare state policy. The more precise meaning is always defined socially in a specific national context of relations between state citizens and markets and housing provision. Two alternative interpretations of right to housing are suggested, each related to a certain logic of housing provision. In a selective housing policy, the state provides a protected complement to the general housing market, and the right to housing implies some legalistic minimum rights for households of lesser means. In a universal housing policy, the state provides correctives to the general housing market in order to make housing available to all types of households And the right to housing is best seen as a social right in Marshall's meaning of an obligation of the state as a state towards society as a whole. The concepts of universal and selective may be applied to either the political discourse or the state outcome of policies. Furthermore, they may refer to different political levels. If the dichotomy is not specified in those two respects, the distinction between a universal and a selective policy will always be seriously blurred. I'm going to unhighlight this seriously.
What page are we on?
Oh, what are you looking at? I found this is a card I found. I'm going to save it right now. I just cut the card. But actually, I don't want to. Hold on. Yeah, we'll save it. This is AT. Right means something. Muddier. That's the point of this thing, is to muddy stuff. And it's Bingson 2001. Okay, this is pretty central to the whole thing. Let's argue this thing out right now after I title it and tag it. All right, so this is, if you are on the F side, you're going to definitely run this. Oops. Yeah. In the mirror. In the mirror. We're going to mirror. Then we may. I shouldn't share my screen right now. You're a smart. Smart.
Self-validation.
Where is it though? Oh, in the wrong folder. Here. All right. So, Courtney, I want you to open up that thing I just uploaded to our Italian called AT right means something. So basically, it's a muddier. Let's pretend the right doesn't mean anything. Okay, so you read that to me, and then I will I will answer it. I will dismantle you what you're saying there. Okay, so you understand how to do that. And Grace, I want you to listen to this too. This is important because you're gonna have the same kind of argument a lot of times in debate. So pay attention to the right thing. Go if you are you in the LD folder, Grace? Let me invite you to it. What's your email address? Okay. Poop@poop.com. That's a weird email address, Grace. Poop@poop.com. Is it Liang? What's your last name? Yeah. Meow to the meow to the meow meow meow. Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow. Okay, so if you go to the right to housing folder, can you open up the meow to the meow and know the truth of wisdom of truth and meaning? That's how you'll learn the wisdom of truth and meaning. Okay, so once you've done that, Courtney, can you read it to me, please?
Okay, so some name 2001. It's ridiculous to judge this round according to any precise definition of right. Term of art, right to housing refers to some level of government obligation to provide housing, and that is what we are really arguing about. The right to housing is best seen as a political marker of concern, pointing at housing as an area of former state policies. The more precise meaning of the idea is always defined socially in the specific national context of relations between state, citizen, and markets and housing division. Two alternate of the right to housing are suggested, each related to a certain logic of housing provision. Any selective housing policy, the state provides a protected complement to the general housing market, and the right to housing implies some legalistic minimum rights for households of lesser means. In a universal housing policy, the state provides correctives to the general housing market in order to make housing available to all types of households, and the right to housing is best seen as a social right and Marshall's meaning of an obligation of the state towards society as a whole. The concepts of universal and selective may be applied to either the political discourse of the social outcomes of policies. Furthermore, they may refer to different political levels. If the dichotomy is not specified in those two respects, the distinction between the universal and the selective policy will always be blurred.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay.
so what do you guys think? Do you understand that? What it's saying is the right to housing is best seen as a marker of concern, pointing out housing as an area for state policy. The precise meaning of the idea is defined socially in a specific national context of relations between state, citizen, and markets and housing provision. Two alternative interpretations of a right to housing are suggested, each related to a certain logic of housing provision. In a selective housing policy, the state provides a protected complement to the general housing market. And the right to housing implies some legalistic minimum rights for households of lesser means. In a universal housing policy, the state provides correctives to the general housing market in order to make housing available to all types of households, and the right to housing is best seen as a social right in Marshall's meaning of an obligation of the state towards society as a whole. Okay. The concept of universal and selective may be applied to either political discourse or the social outcome of policies. Political discourse or the social outcome of policies, universal and selective. Furthermore, they may refer to different political levels if the dichotomy is not specified in those two respects. The distinction between universal and selective policy will always be important. Okay? So, this is what you're defending. Or do you want me to defend it? You want to attack it or defend it?
That sounds whack.
What are you going to do? Attack or defend?
I don't want to defend it, but I don't know how to attack it. Does that make sense?